We've got the most magnificent scene just in front of us. We're down at the Sand River and we've come across these two elephant bulls that were drinking, and now they've made their way across to a little mud wallow. It's a popular spot for elephants. We regularly see them here, big herds sometimes just single bulls. But it's, I don't know what it is about this particular section, but you know, they churn it up, they make it all muddy, they gouge out the bank, and it's a favorite wallowing spot for all the local herds. So regularly, particularly sort of mid to late morning when it's really starting to get hot, elephants pour down here in numbers. And they use the mud to coat themselves, which protects them against the sun, it keeps them cool, it acts as an insect repellent, it kills little ticks and parasites that might be on them. And it's one of the times you can really get a sense that animals are enjoying themselves. So we're going to spend some time with these two bulls and see them having fun. I wouldn't be surprised if more eddies arrive, if we can hear some. We can hear a herd feeding up in the thickets on the far side of the river. But for now, just these two bulls having a whale of a time. So we've heard some branches cracking behind us, and there's another bull approaching. He should be popping out any minute. And he looks like he's a little bit bigger than the first two. And you'll find with an elephant culture, it's not only mating rights that the big bulls take preference over. You know, the hierarchy is not just established for that. Sometimes even things like mud wallows, feeding rights on the good trees, the big bulls will often push out the smaller ones. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens here.
We're going to work into the south and east when you found a coalition on the Low River Road. Yeah, I think there was a very large breeding head.
I'm trying to check towards we business land. So most of the time we run commentary through the sighting, you know, when we get a space to speak and talk about what's going on. This was one of those mornings where that didn't happen because it was just constant, absolutely amazing sighting with the Mhangeni pride. I mean, that was once in a lifetime. They came and lay next to the vehicle. It was the best shade for them, and luckily they ended up moving. But I mean, to have a little cub staring up at you from less than 2 meters, could not believe that.
I'll be there in 1 minute.
That had to be one of the best sightings that I've had with lions. The fact that they were right here. It was literally, I had to look down on that female lioness at one point. It was incredible. And I'm fully aware that lionesses are female.
So as is often the case these days, we're sitting with elephants that are feeding around this beautiful little waterhole. But they aren't the main focus. We've spotted a dwarf bittern, which is a rare bird. It's probably not as rare as we think, but it's very shy and retiring, and they skulk in the reed beds and in the grass fringes of these pans. So you don't often see them. You usually only spot them when they get flushed, which is what happened here when we drove quite close and it burst out of the reeds. Hang on, there's nearly drinking. I just want to film him. So I was saying the bitterns we don't often see. They're migrants as well, so we only see them in summer. But yeah, they're uncommon. We probably overlook them more regularly than we are aware of. This one you could see it was flushed. It exposed itself, which gave us an amazing view up in the tree. But then as soon as it kind of panicked a bit and felt, oh, I'm vulnerable, goes against all instincts, and it landed back in the grass and then scuttled down to the reeds, and then an elephant walked past and it flew off. So we are going to carry on. No real agenda this afternoon. We're just prowling around the western parts of Londolozi, seeing what we can find and take it from there. Okay, so we've just seen a juvenile martial eagle. It's the biggest eagle species we have here at Londolozi. Very impressive birds. They're known to take out small antelope and game birds like guinea fowl, francolins. And their main source of food is monitor lizards though. Anyway, I'm getting off the point. What's interesting here is that there's another juvenile we saw north of the river this morning. And I don't think these are the same birds. They might be. But generally when they're young, they hang around the nest for a couple of months in the vicinity, getting fed by the adults. And the nest in this part of the reserve, I'll show you on a map now, is in a tree just up ahead. Big stick nest built in the fork of a tree. In this case it's a marula. And I can't even remember if we saw that this nest was active this year. We did see the pair on the nest, because they reuse the nests regularly every second year or so. I remember seeing the adults here, but we didn't see them again, so I wasn't convinced there was even one chick being raised. But the fact that this one was here close to the nest and this morning's one was on the other side of the river close to that nest means that it looks like there are 2 martial eagle chicks on Londolozi, which is great news. I might be wrong, because they do generally have very big territories, but I think in this case we might be hitting the double. Anyway, just a random point of interest. So after coming out of the block strong with the elephant and the dwarf bittern, things slowed down quite a bit. I mean, look, relatively, a few zebra and impala, but nothing spectacular. Now we saw this juvenile marshal. Often the best way to get back on track is just to stop, sit and take it all in. We've come to a beautiful viewpoint overlooking a nice open crest. And from here we can see, jeepers, I mean, it's just beautiful. We're looking west towards the sunset. We've got elephants feeding on the hillside opposite us. Way in the distance we can see a really happy sight. This is actually the highlight of the drive. It looks like a rhino cow with a very small calf, and then a young one, which I'm imagining is a previous calf of hers. So we don't post a lot of rhino stuff for obvious reasons, but this is, this in itself is just a happy story. A long way away from us, but it's great just to see that they're healthy, the population's doing well, and that there's a new calf around. That juvenile marshal we saw earlier, we heard it calling somewhere around here, so we're just going to check around the corner and see if it's nearby, and maybe we can get some shots of it. Okay, wow, it's not the chick, it's one of the adult marshal eagles. So this is a seriously impressive bird. Have a look at this thing. Okay, so that adult's flown off, landed on a dead tree down on the opposite side of the valley. We're going to leave it. Oh, this is a relatively quiet afternoon, but the quiet ones are generally when you see the diversity. You have time to look at the small stuff. The marshal eagle, you start getting a better appreciation of how everything fits in. And I think, just given that this adult's here, the chick's here, the nest we know of is down there, I think this is two different pairs have both had chicks successfully this year. That's very cool. Very positive for the species.